Episode 100. Can you believe it? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to this channel, hello, welcome. My name is Audrey. I'm a psychic medium. Okay, so don't get halfway through my video and realize I'm psychic. Okay, I am a psychic medium, but welcome to the channel. I've been gone for a week. Sudden trip out to the East Coast. Everything is fine. I have my grand dog here. I have Patches, the pup, who came to live with Chase and I. And she is ill, but I have her back here taking good care of her. She had a spa day. And I also have Benjamin. I have my Benny. Benny's back. Benjamin is back. And I know I'm going to cry. I missed him so much, my son, my 27-year-old. So you'll see him on the channel. He's already said he'll come on and do some shows with me. So for those of you who don't know Benjamin, he's my I can't say I have favorites because obviously I don't have favorites, but he's my favorite 27-year-old man. And Sarah's doing well. I saw her and her fiance in Vermont. So we flew. It took 18 hours to get to Vermont, as always. And then we rented a car and drove home to California. So I'll do a video on that, and Ben and I can talk about different Vermont stuff and just our trip across the country. I got this really cool mug in Arizona. Arizona felt like, okay, we made it home. We're not real far from California. But anyway, stopped at the Starbucks and got myself a little souvenir. It's the only thing I bought for myself, but we have more important things to talk about today, such as murder updates. Murder updates. Okay. Well, all these cases I'm going to update you on, you've probably have heard about. I have just tidbits on most of them. It's just a tidbit kind of, oh, okay, well, that's new. All right. Okay. But I do want to talk about the Long Island serial killer, which I have not talked about him before. So, but everyone else we've talked about. So I'm going to jump in. Don't forget, I'm on Instagram at Audrey Briggs 68 is my handle. I think I have a couple pictures of the dog there and just, general stuff around the house that we're doing, just personal kind of stuff. So don't forget to check out the Instagram. Okay. And my asthma's acting up. My asthma's acting up a little bit. So I'm medicated. I have just done these inhalers. I have some coffee. So I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I do have my notes over here on the table to my right. So if you see me looking down here, that's what it is. I will say something else, though, before we start. I haven't told Benjamin our house is haunted. I have not told him. I don't want to say, hi, welcome, welcome home, Benjamin. Our house is haunted. And so I feel it. I feel a shift in the energy in the house, mostly probably because of the dog. Most ghosts don't want to interact with the dog, and the dog's sleeping in the living room, which is where all the activity has been happening pretty much. So we'll talk about that with Ben. I'll tell him live while we're filming so you can see his reaction. Oh, by the way. So anyway, lots to talk about. Okay. So real quick, these are just going to be kind of bullet point kind of discussions. First, we have Doomsday Prophet, Chad Daybell. We know about Chad and Lori and all the murdering that happened between in their relationship between Lori's husband being killed, Lori's brother being killed. They said it was a health issue. He was murdered. And then, of course, Tylee and JJ, the kids, and of course, Chad's wife, Tammy. So we got 5 dead people from Chad and Lori Daybell. And The update is there will be cameras allowed in the courtroom for Chad's trial, which they should. I think, and tell me what you think. I think that should be standard operating procedure. It's public record, it's public information. We are the public. What's going on in the courtrooms? We need to know our government is properly conducting these trials, allowing and disallowing appropriately, and everything else that's encompassed within having a trial. Everything. We saw in the Alec Murdoch case that there's possibly a court clerk issue with Becky Hill. Becky Hill's son got arrested. That's another story. But we need to see. We need eyes. We need eyes on what's going on. I'm going to lose my voice. This is spirit. This is not asthma. This is my spirit now, or some spirit. Okay. So it's my really strong opinion. Every single case should be made available. I mean, divorce court, I don't know about that. That kind of family court. But criminal court, yes. We're the public. I don't want to live somewhere and find out that this guy or girl or whatever is out of jail after spending a year when it should have been life sentence, or didn't get any time at all and is back on the streets. Whatever the case, we need information. Information is power and safety. That's how I look at it. Now, of course, looking and talking about murder all the time, you know, you you can't be scared about it. You can't and shouldn't let it dictate a negative feeling for you. It's information we need to know. So, if you're up 24/7 watching crime, probably not healthy. You know, Chase and I have our non-murdering time during the day. Like, we're not gonna watch crime at dinner time or whatever. So we have our time where we absolutely don't talk about it. We don't watch it. We just watch whatever comedy, or we're talking or whatever. Okay, so let me know what you think about cameras in the courtroom. Chad seems to think it's going to help his case. Chad's already throwing Lori under the bus. Lori threw him under the bus. He's going to throw Lori under the bus. I have not heard of a divorce yet. Maybe that's coming. Maybe because they're so religious, it's not gonna come. And by the way, Lori Daybell says she's met Jesus in person, like full blown standing man in front of her. So that's interesting. That's um doubtful. Obviously, Christians feel they know Christ. They talk, they pray to him, they interact with him. He's your savior if you're Christian. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that kind of relationship with Christ. I am talking about full blown, oh hey, hi Jesus. Come on in. Yeah, we're planning some murders. Come on in. That kind of interaction. So, okay, let's move on to the next case, which is the Delphi case. Which, guess what, America? I went through Delphi, Indiana. Mm-hmm. I did. I drove. I did. I did. I think I did most of the driving through Indiana specifically. I still stand with what I said. No, no, no. Don't drop your loved ones off to get murdered out in the middle of nowhere. And you know what? There's a lot of middle of nowhere in the country. We drove through it for 45 freaking hours of nothing. There's there's a lot of emptiness around America where there's nobody. in some of these less populated places, such as Delphi, Indiana, doesn't mean you're safe because of low numbers. Okay, statistically, maybe my chances of getting uh, carjacked or murdered are lower than, say, New York City. Yes, but it doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you are at no risk. There's still a risk. So please, people that have this mentality, I live in a small town, I know everyone. You think you do. You do not. Sorry, I'm shaking everything. You do not know everyone. I promise you. Be smart. Don't just let your loved ones go off down the freaking don't get me started. Audrey, just calm down. It's gonna make my asthma worse. I just can't stand it. I just can't stand it. This did not need to happen with Libby and Abby getting murdered. Now, what I wanted to mention on this case is Mitchell Westerman has been arrested. What is he arrested for? Who is he, Audrey? Who is Mitchell? Well, Mitch is somebody acquainted with the two former lawyers of Richard Allen, Dickie, the suspect, Richard Dickie Allen, the suspect. His two lawyers. He had two lawyers originally, and Mitch was friends and acquaintances of those lawyers. Mitch was in the office where the lawyers worked, saw some crime photos on the conference room table, and decided to take some snapshots on his cell phone of the crime photos and then pass them out. He passed them out to people, and one of the people he gave the photos to, we'll refer to that person as RF. He took his own life. RF, who received the photos from Mitch Westerman of the crime scene of the Delphi murders, killed himself. That's pretty serious. That tells me there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of shenanigans. There's a lot of illegal. There's a lot of sneaking. There's a lot of bad negativity, bad choices, crooked people involved. And like I said, I'm not super thrilled with those two lawyers anyway. I've mentioned how I feel about them. You can watch those videos. My breath is short today, so I don't feel like coming down on those guys today. But my feelings will come back where I will discuss those two lawyers again later. Okay. Kevin Franke, Ruby Franke's husband. This is the YouTuber mom who's abused her 6 children, allegedly. Well, it's not alleged, it's a freaking fact. Franke, Kevin Franke, the husband, has filed for divorce. Should we be shocked? No. All of a sudden religion doesn't matter and these people, super religious people, nope, gonna do it, gonna get divorced. Well, what does the Bible say? Does the Bible say that Ruby Franke has done something to qualify for divorce? Or is Kevin just another facade? He's another uh, person involved with a woman who isn't really who she says she is, and therefore getting the divorce to get the hell away from her. But I don't care for Kevin. There's something. I've already talked about this too. There's something about him I don't care for. He kind of gives me nightmares, actually. Um, Kevin is trying to get a bill sent over to Capitol Hill via a senator he knows, to require life coaches to have some sort of certificate because his wife, Ruby, the YouTuber, I guess gave herself a really nice, long, legit sounding title of life coach when really she's an abuser. She's fake. Or she's not, I mean, she's not fake. She's an actual person. She's a human being. And yes, she's giving advice, but should we be allowed to take advice from an abuser? Well, who's to say other life coaches are not abusers too, or are abusers too? You know what I'm saying? Just because you have a certificate doesn't mean you're a good person. It doesn't mean you have good intentions. It doesn't describe your home life or your relationships. Um, doesn't describe your relationships with people. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere with Kevin trying to get this bill passed or get it to even get to Capitol Hill. So we will see. Okay, now I have some non-murder news. Um, regarding the British royal family, which I love. I've been to England a lot. Everything in my life revolves around England and London. If you see, you can't tell from this view, but if I turn everything around, it's like everywhere all the time. Um, and Harry Potter. I know I'm 55. I know it's terrifying. Um, so we have this new book from Omid Scobie. Omid Scobie called End Game. This is not written by Harry or Meghan. This was written by Omid Scobie, where he's talking about the royal family, which I'm not going to get super into the book, but I'm going to point out one thing about the book that's causing a lot of problems. And that is this. The Netherlands version of the book calls King Charles and Princess Kate racists. That's a big claim. That's a big you better prepare to back it up. And what I'm talking about is, that Oprah interview that happened with Meghan and Harry, and Meghan saying, "Oh, someone said, what color is the baby's skin gonna be if they get married and they have kids?" This was before they got married, Meghan and Harry. I think that's legitimate. I mean, I'm half Mexican. I'm not brown at all. I'm super white. How did that happen? I don't know. My brother and sister have color. You know what I'm saying? So it's a legitimate freaking question. And this was spoken allegedly between King Charles, Catherine, and some other families or relatives. Um, and this has been Meghan and Harry's. I don't want to say. How do I say this? They're basically trying to use this against the royal family and get people to believe they're actual legitimately racist. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that is not a racial thing. I mean, it literally is a racial thing, but it's not discriminatory. You could have a black person and a black person who's much fairer, and you may ask, "Oh, the wife is pregnant. I wonder, what color do you think the baby will be? Darker like dad or more light like mom? Or, which characteristics do you think the baby will have?" It's like those kids I've seen, a couple of cases out of the UK. There's twins, literal twins, um, one and they have multi racial parents, and one of the twins is white, one of the twins is black. It's a real thing. It doesn't mean you're racist? It's just an observation. It's like, oh, I have naturally curly hair. Will my baby have curly hair or straight jet black hair like an Asian person? I didn't know. I didn't know how my kids were going to look before they were born. You just don't know. It's like when I had Jonathan, he has a different father than Sarah and Benjamin, but it's like, I wonder if Jonathan's gonna look like Sarah and Benjamin or not? It's just a freaking natural place our minds go when we know the couple or we know they're different colors. It's exciting. It's exciting to think about. But Harry and Meghan have they're mm, uh, they're not doing themselves any favors by encouraging Omid Scobie to put these sorts of things in his book. Omid Scobie says he didn't know this was gonna be in the book. How did this accidentally get in there? How did this information accidentally get printed, in the Netherlands and not any other country? Um, People are saying Charles should remove their titles. He should have removed them a long time ago, in my opinion. Take those frickin' titles away from these entitled assholes, Meghan and Harry, who are not far from where I live. You can go to Canada, you can go anywhere else, I don't care, but I don't like you in my neighborhood, okay? Not literally in my neighborhood, but close enough. It's awful. And Harry comes here to the US trying to, discourage freedom of speech. Well, that's mm-mm. No, no, Harry. No. That is a mistake to do in the United States of America, okay? And you don't get to run around saying, I demand that this be released. I demand this. I demand that." Well, then go back to your country where maybe someone gives a shit. I don't know anymore though, Harry. I just don't know. All right. Last thing I want to talk about today is this Rex Hewerman, aka the Long Island serial killer. This big guy from Long Island has been discovered at having killed a lot of women, mostly sex workers. Some were not sex workers. I'm not going to go into all the awful details about that. But the news is his estranged wife, who has not come to see him in jail, showed up for a court hearing for Rex. She showed up in a fancy silver Mercedes, and a film crew from Peacock. Is it Peacock Entertainment? It's Peacock Productions, whatever. Peacock. We all know Peacock. Um, so she signed a $1 million gig with Peacock. She had a microphone on, and she sat there in the courtroom smiling at Rex, and they were, making eye contact at each other, and that's 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 telling. That tells me a lot. There's something wrong with her. That behavior does not match a woman who just found out her husband is a murderer. I guess she was on GoFundMe to help pay for things because now, there's no income anymore. Rex, the murderer, signed over their $500,000 home to her. So she has that. And Rex, the serial killer, Rex, is pen pals with another serial killer, the smiley face killer. Smiley face killer. I had to look that up. I had to watch some information on YouTube about that. I didn't know about this man, but, this smiley face killer would go around killing people, and then he would, haphazardly write some notes, send it to law enforcement with a happy face signed on the bottom of some, clues. "Hey, I think I saw that girl over here at this time," or, "Oh, I know this about this dead girl. I know this about her. I know this about this other one." So he would consistently send notes to law enforcement and always end his note with a smiley face. So he's been deemed the smiley face killer. Um, Disgusting. So, oh, one other thing. I'm curious how this is gonna pan out and if spirit wants to come in and help me um figure this one out. Now here's the thing. Some of the victims, I believe 4 of the victims that Rex murdered had hair from the wife, from Rex's wife. Okay, well, is that surprising? I mean, they live together in a I heard a small home. Hairs, we lose 50-ish hairs a day. Hard to believe, but I guess we lose about 50 hair a day, strands of hair. So, of course, a couple, why would you be surprised that, I have some of Chase's hair on me somewhere, or I definitely have dog hair and cat hair on me. Um, that's not surprising to me, but they're for some reason they're making a really big deal out of this woman's hair being on 4 of the victims. Now, here's something else interesting about this case is this man, sorry, I have to burp. Excusez-moi. Um, this man would have these sex workers come to the house while wife was home. Let me say that again. While wife was home, Rex would be having his encounter with the sex worker. I mean, to each his own, but that is just I don't even have a word. I don't even have an American word for what that is. I saw this video off subject. I saw this video of this Japanese guy. He goes around and interviews people in Japan, a lot of foreigners, a lot of Japanese people asking them random questions. And this guy asked these 2 girls, "Would you be upset if your husband hired a sex worker?" And they're like, "No. If it's just sex, then I don't have to do it." That's what these women said. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, my point is there's some weird shit out there. There's some weird things people allow and do in their homes, that I think most of us would not be okay with and probably not really wanna be friends with that kind of person. That's just no, that goes against I don't know. It's just wrong. It's wrong, it's wrong. So, the wife is talking a lot. And her lawyers are allowing her to talk. She's being interviewed by the Peacock people and, others for funds. So she may implicate herself at some point. At some point, law enforcement is saying at some point, they may have enough information to possibly arrest her on suspicion. Certainly, probably will bring her in for more questioning. So, this woman, I don't know, is she any much better than her husband? Did he confide in her what he's doing with these women? He's obviously having sex with them or some sort of sexual interaction or whatever. I'm sure they're not playing Monopoly in that bedroom at the house. So I do think the wife knows a lot, and I think potentially she was aiding and abetting or something to that effect. I don't know exactly. I'm not a lawyer, but I think they may try and get her. They're trying to get her. They're trying to get her on something. So it's interesting. So had not talked about that case before, but I did find that very shocking and interesting behavior of this wife showing up to court. And you know what, lady? $1 million isn't that much these days. I'm sorry. You're going to blow through that money. And then what? Then, spend it before you go to jail. Spend that million before you go to jail. By the way, also speaking of money in jail, Alec Murdaugh was in court. And the victim impact statements were done in court prior to his sentencing. And this was for some of the monetary crimes that he committed. And Alec was standing up, listening and responding to people he knows who he violated. So, the judge is obviously there listening, watching, listening to the victim's statement, seeing how Alec is responding. Is this Is this a standard operating procedure? Is it a given that victims are allowed to give an impact statement prior to sentencing? How many victims? All the victims? Anybody wants to come up and say anything to Alec or whoever? That was really shitty what you did, Alec. You took that person's, $5 million or whatever the situation is. Is this a victim's right? And shouldn't the judge base his decision on the law, not the impact statements? Because then that's personal. I thought the judge had to do what was legal, not necessarily personal. There's feelings involved. So I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe victim impact statements should be given after the sentencing. I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right about that. I mean, of course, we want to be heard. We want the victims to get their say out and confront the person that violated them. Definitely, I'm not saying that, but I don't know. I don't know if I like the judge basing his or her s- uh, sentencing on what the victims are saying. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. All right. Well, nice to be back. Nice to see you guys. We're almost into December. Crazy. It's been a crazy year. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you guys soon, and I'll bring Benjamin soon. Can't wait for you guys to see him. My little Benny boy. Well, he's not little. Anyway, I'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Be safe. Have a great day. Mwah. Ciao.